Hello,
Hello.
welcome to Gen Z Meets World podcast. I am Aeshah.
I'm Ahmad, and we are siblings, in case you cannot tell.
Yeah, we look very similar though. I
Yeah.
mean, once when we were younger and like we were about,
The same height.
yeah, and you looked closer to, more similar to how I look, and I look more similar to how you look. People often thought that we were siblings.
Yeah, and especially
Sorry,
because
people often thought that we were twins.
twins, yes. There's also like our voice were very similar
Yeah,
when we were
that's true.
younger. So
Our voices were very similar
Yes.
to each other.
in fact, like people often get confused during phone calls because
Yeah.
they don't know which one of us.
Yeah, that's true.
And looking back at old recordings, it is hard without like all sound recordings without any visual guide. We often get confused. We're not sure which one of us is the one being recorded.
Yeah, that is true. And talking about sound recording, that reminds me of when we were younger. We would like make we had our own like radio
Yes.
channel. We called it like kids radio. And we would just use those, regular sound recorder, and we would just use our
Windows
ordinary
XP sound
mic.
recorder. Yes.
And then we just like make a welcome to kids radio
And there will be
radio
like a lot of segments like talking about health, reminders.
and like PSAs.
Yes. There's like even advertisement slots and
Yeah.
songs which.
Yeah.
There's one where we will sing, and the other we will record songs being played on the computer
And then just like
and just
play it.
play it in there.
But we had like legitimate radio channel episode
Yes.
things. And that was like very interesting. Would you say we were close then?
I
When we
do
were younger.
believe because that was about the time when
I started homeschooling.
yes, but
Before
before
that-
that,
Yeah.
I mean, because early on during the whole thing, you were still
I was.
at school.
No,
So-
not during kids radio.
During
Yeah,
Kids
yeah,
Radio,
yeah.
because
During kids radio, yes.
You got home and
Yes.
I was
Yes,
recording
yes.
stuff. So back then, even though we did not really spend as much time because when I'm well, I mean, I was small at that time. I wasn't at school yet, so
Yeah. When you Ahmad were born, his name is Ahmad Ali, so sometimes I might call him
Yes.
Ali. When you were born, I was already about to go to school. Like you were born on February, I went to
Yes.
school in August, so we didn't like there wasn't much time when we interacted with each other.
so it
So
was
growing up, we were definitely not
Yes.
that close.
so I spent more time with my immediate sister, Anissa,
And
So-
eventually, our eldest
eldest
sister,
sister Ayman,
when she started
when she started
homeschooling.
homeschooling, and
I was still at school.
and Kak Anissa started to go to
Yeah,
school.
yeah, that's true.
So that was when at first I was close with Kak Anissa, and then when the whole thing switched, I was close to Kak Iman. So I was always spending time with someone. And more
That's
than
not me.
That's not her. She's always at school. She never leaves school.
But what was interesting was when I went to school, when I was in my, like, I think you started, that was like about second year, I think, not my first year. You would, when my school book, it would have like, like when I'm in my second year, it'd have like year 2 on it. And you would insist that it's your book because you say that there's a 2 on it and it says year.
And
So it's
at
for
that
the
time,
book.
when
It's
when
for
she's
2 years old.
in her
I was
second year,
He was
I will
2
be
years old.
second year, 2 years old. So when she's in her third year, I'll be 3
Yeah,
years
3 years
old, and
old.
so on.
And so you would always insist that that book is yours. And I'm like, I want to do my homework and I need that book. But you'd insist that it's not my book, it's your
It's mine.
book. So you would often like, I would end up needing to share it because, I have to get my work done somehow. For some reasons, you really love the science books more than any other subjects.
Interesting.
Yes, I still have no clue why. But you constantly like the science books. And that reminds me that we also shared, like, when I was, before you were born or before you started being interested in books, there were a lot of books that I loved reading a lot, but no one else did. Like, for example, there was that book Flags of the World.
Oh, yes.
Which I loved a lot before you came into existence.
Yeah.
And then I was the only one who really read that book. Like, other people were also interested in it. We all loved books. But then I particularly liked that book more than everyone else. But eventually, when you were born, and eventually when you started reading, you would want to read that book too. And then we'd have to either take turns or share it. And I think that is also
something
interesting.
That creates the bond.
Yeah.
Even when she's at school.
Even though we didn't spend much.
Well, she's not
together.
at school at the moment because she's at home. But
even though I was still schooling. And I think definitely when I started homeschooling, our relationship became much closer.
Yeah.
And I think that is because of two things. One is that obviously I'm spending more time at home.
Yeah.
But another thing is that
because you're spending more time at home.
No, because you were older.
Oh, because I was older. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so we can have like
more
because in-depth conversations with each other. Because
yes.
before that, the age gap is so wide. I can't have your talk. You can't have my talk.
Yeah, I'll be talking about rambling
other things, and I will talk about other things. So we were at an age where we can like meet.
Yes.
And we can have interesting conversations with each other, and that eventually leads to our relationship being a lot closer. Now, I feel like nowish. I think about 2013, 2014, when we spent a lot more time with each other.
Yes.
Our relationship got very
close.
And by spending time with each other, I think one of the things that we most often do, and the thing that we definitely bond over a lot, is definitely when we have like discussions or conversations on things that we enjoy observing.
Yes.
Like, for example, current issues.
Yeah.
Or social situations.
Observations of like cultures and social
or
things.
Just in fact even random topics.
Yes, even random. Like,
but then we'd see like the implication of it and stuff like that. Like, for example,
we have the thing about it is that we have similar, if not the same view, then we have like similar views,
or at least similar principles.
Yes, but different perspectives.
Like, we'd see it from different angles,
point of views. Yes,
and that makes the conversation a lot more interesting
because we could compare and like build things from the two foundations.
You would see something I don't see, and I would see something you don't see. And together they complement. And
we could see something that the both of us didn't see at first.
Yes.
Because of the merging of the two ideas. Yes.
Yes. And that makes it very interesting. And I think that is the reason why I really want to make this podcast.
Yeah.
We really want to make this podcast because it will be interesting. Because one of the most frustrating thing when we have like conversations is that it's not recorded, it's not documented anywhere.
Yes, it's not
and you would want to look for that one idea that you had, that
you
one
just
sentence
said once,
that
not even one full sentence. It could be half a sentence,
or that one analogy, and you really want that one, but you can't remember what it is anymore.
You don't even,
or sometimes you just like, that was a very interesting conversation that we had. What were we talking about?
Yes,
I can't remember.
Exactly.
Like, perhaps we started from this something, but we definitely were not talking about that thing that was very interesting.
That was not the initial topic. Is not what we talked about.
Yep. Eventually. And to have like this podcast, we could like A, document it, and B,
share our not just share it, but open the conversation wider. And that's why we want you as the listeners to also
give feedbacks
and also take part. You could take part in our conversation. So like
you could like
give your opinions on the issue that we were talking
like,
about,
things we didn't see, or even like suggest topics for us to talk about, like
because
things
we don't
think about
everything,
and there might be something interesting to talk about, to discuss, that we didn't think of. So that will be very interesting, so if you feel like you might be interested in these kind of like conversations, we usually talk about like current issues and social situations, or we sometimes like talk about the implications of social media. Or sometimes we'd be talking about
comparison of culture to how like how the culture is built.
Yeah.
A culture is
or
built.
how a culture is disintegrated.
Yes.
Or about like life mottos.
Yeah.
And why is it important for you to have one? And how does it impact you? You know?
Yeah.
Or even general things like hobbies or things that we usually experience, like homeschooling. You know, I think that's an interesting thing to think
topic,
about.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you feel like you might be interested in that and you would like to partake in our conversations, please follow us on our YouTube channel, which is Oskida.
That's
youtube.com
OSKIDA.
Oskida.
Yeah.
And you can also follow our Facebook page, which is where we would most probably be updating our updates.
Yes.
It's facebook.com/Oskida. And our Instagram, which is instagram.com/Oskida_IG. And also our blog.
Yes.
Oskida.wordpress.com. So if you might be interested in any of these, please do follow us and participate in our conversations.
Yes.
And I think, and we would be posting every other week on Saturdays. Or Sundays.
If we can't post on Saturday, then we will be posting on Sunday.
And I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
This is our first time making a podcast. So please excuse the scuffedness of it.
Yes. Bear with us.
Yep. And, in fact, you can help us, give ideas on how to make it better. So that's it.
I think that's enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. That's us. That's about us. Bye.
Bye.